Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net. I want to say a couple things here. Welcome everybody that's already in. Please use the chat option. You won't be able to see other people's chats, but I'll always identify people by their first name and respond to any questions that we have. Any and all questions are good, flipping or surplus funds, of course. And just happy to see this many people already jumping into the room here tonight. Again, use chat, not the Q&A. I know it's a question and answer webinar, but please use chat. Again, you can also go to surplusfundsriches.net for additional information, but there is a file download. If you're here live, you can download this file download as an overview of all of our programs, and we'll answer a lot of your questions. The insider's guide's in there about the different programs that we have. If somebody can let me know you can hear and see me okay, that would be great. I'm seeing Maria says hello. Maria here. Cheryl says hi, guys. David says hello. And Tom says hi, Sean. Tom in Oklahoma. Excuse me. Couple things. We're working on a couple of different things you guys are going to really enjoy. There's going to be kind of an expansion on file acceptance shortly on what we can do. And we covered one of the options that we're pursuing on the last webinar. We've got another one coming up too. I'm not going to go in depth right now because we have so much going on, and I don't like to let the cat completely out of the bag until I know we're good. Nish says, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. Serena says hi. Sean Rochelle says, I see you. Art says hello. Hasha, see and hear you okay. Thank you. Latasha says hi. Let me get to, I'm sorry, I need to find the, need to keep up with you guys. Daryl says hello. Donna says hello. Maria, I can see and hear you. Great. Patrick says, can see and hear you fine. Hello from OKC. That's Steve. Thanks for doing this, says Art. Vic says hi. A-OK. Milo says hello from New Jersey. Can hear you loud and clear. Chicago land here. That's David. Katrina says, Katrina, Miami, Florida. I see and hear you. Katrina, good. That's good. Greg, good evening. Isabel, hi, Sean. And Shaban, hi, Sean. All right, guys. So a lot going on. You will see, hopefully, I know I've been slack on posting stuff. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the background right now. Hired 2 new people to keep up with the demand, and really excited about these crew members, their backgrounds, and have another person that speaks fluent Spanish. That helps us quite a bit in this industry. Cam is from Ohio. That's great. So we've got a lot going on, bringing a secondary central attorney online also just to back us up, to make sure we can move even quicker, just in those instances where the second one might have a bigger network or a different network in other states that we can use a little bit better. Really excited about that. And you'll be seeing where I haven't posted like the last 4 or 5 checks. I'll probably catch up on those. And then today was nice. It was a $119,000 claim, which after paying the attorneys in this instance came out actually pretty cheap, about 112. Obviously, we need to, I know I usually don't break it down for you, but on a deal like that, we're going to pay the owner close to 72. Got 7 into the attorneys at 79. The person that sent in is going to make almost $9,600. So let's call that 89. And then, of course, we've got all our background cost in it. But that's a good whack. Everybody's making great money on that deal. Researcher on that, the person that chose to use their program to partner up with us on the deal, like I said, is going to make just shy of $9,600. That's a great whack. Nothing wrong with that. Have another testimonial coming in shortly from the young lady that it was a 300 and some change. I think it was 380 that we got, something like that. She came out with right at about 30 grand. I think it was 385. She came out with right at 30 grand was her payout on that. Now that's, guys, our average is around $50,000. So I'm not going to say that everything's 100 or 200 or 300,000. You guys have seen the checks on my stuff. And obviously those are gross, usually typically after the attorney's paid, but before the researcher partner or the claimant has been completely paid out. But anyway, great news, good week. We're expanding. We have more people coming on board. You guys might have noticed we changed the way we do it. And this says, wow, good. Elizabeth, good evening. Jeff in from Florida. That's great. Because a couple of you guys have mentioned Florida, I need to bring up that Florida is a separate program for us because their statutes are so different down there. And it's a little bit different working, especially with the available information there. It's a little bit different working Florida. So that's only available in bundles, best of the best gold or diamond bundle. Oh, wow, here we go. Questions are coming. Good. This is what I need. We need interaction, guys. So Derek says, is a substitute trustee's deed the same as a trustee's deed in North Carolina? Yes, it is. And by the way, I'm bringing this up, Derek. I'm not taking a shot. I'm bringing this up, but whatever you guys do, those of you that have purchased our program, and you don't have to wait for these webinars to ask questions. We do have email-based support built into the program. Jeff handles that side of it, and he gets back very quickly. He's really good at that, and he knows the front line way better than me. He's also the mediator in this, and that's important because he can handle the back end if it's a frontline question that I'm going to blow, because he's handling the front line. He handles the support questions and also underwriting the files you guys turn in. Eric says, Eric from Florida. That's great. Daryl, can you give any advice on what would be a quick and easy indicator or whether or not the surplus being worked is a tax deed or a mortgage foreclosure? Daryl, where'd you get the list? Did you get it? Wherever you got that list, okay, there's a couple things I'm gonna address this with. And for some of you guys have been doing this for a while, you're going, come on. Who created the list? You can contact them. And a lot of people are afraid to contact the courts. A lot of these lists are created by courts or sheriff's department. A lot of people are afraid to contact. Hey, I'm looking at this list of surplus funds. Is this from tax or mortgage? But the other thing is, find the last deed. And this is in our training, by the way. Find the deed that transferred it from at the foreclosure. Okay. And it'll say why it was transferred. This is that we were handling this for Bank of America mortgage that was not paid. We're handling this for unpaid taxes. The person that handled the foreclosure is an indicator, in that particular county of what it was. But typically the list will kind of tell you, or when you found the list, you were directed through the tax department or the sheriff's department or the county. But you've got to check deeds, guys. You have to look at deed transfers to make sure it wasn't transferred prior to the sale, because if it was, whoever that deed was transferred to is entitled to the overage, not the person prior to that. Very important to know that. Also, you need to have that transfer deed. You heard the question earlier. You need to have that deed because you're probably going to get asked for that to make the claim, frankly. And that's going to have information on it that you're going to need, a case number or reference number or a PIN in the case of tax deed foreclosures. Will says, I'm in Massachusetts. Good for you. Northeast has a little less to go after typically, Will, simply because people are more fiscally conservative up there, and it's a little more difficult to get loans in the first place if they did have a loan. That's another thing I want to bring up. A lot of you guys that are doing research, one of the things that we get is people, hey, man, I just researched all the deeds. It was a tax sale, and I didn't find any other debt. Well, sometimes there's not. And I know people have a hard time wrapping their heads around this, but people do buy property with cash. Especially if they're going from an area in the country where they can cash out, make 500 grand and go buy a house cash somewhere else. They also inherit property, and then it's deeded into their name so we can still go after it. But sometimes, there is an additional debt on the mortgage in there. You still have to check it, because if there is, you're chasing something that you can't claim. If there's a $100,000 second mortgage and there's 50 grand in surplus, there's no money to go after. And that mortgage company is not going to work with you. Art, I have the best of the best. I'm trying to figure out the best place to start. I'm torn between National and Florida. What do you recommend? I'd work both. Art, and that's not a cop out. One thing I will say in Florida is I would probably, if I was working Florida, it's really easy to work Florida tax because of the way they have things set up. I would probably work mortgage surplus in Florida whenever possible. Another thing I would do is I'd look at the counties, because a lot of the counties down there, and again, Florida is a separate program for us, only available in bundles, but a lot of the counties down there publish both tax and mortgage overages online. Well, look for counties where they don't, and you have to call. The reason is a lot of people are scared after death to call the county and ask for the list because they think there's a black helicopter. I've said this before, black helicopter flying over the court, and they're going to get arrested because they asked them a question. It's their job to answer the question. Now, other side of that, don't John Wayne it. Don't go, oh, I'll do a Freedom of Information Act request. Just be nice. They're dealing with butt heads all day. Okay. The whole, you get more flies with honey than vinegar, right? Be nice, but they'll help you. You may be go through the runaround between departments for a while, but they'll help you. Is there a 10% cap in Arkansas? Asked Isabel. So just so you guys know, we use a structured buyout and attorneys. We are not finders. We give them some money up front as good faith within 2 weeks after they sign our documents. And as a result, we don't fall under the finder thing. So caps don't apply to us. That's a really big deal because of the way we run it. It's one of the reasons we run it. It's also, we like having attorneys, particularly just because we feel like we get the attention of the court a little more, and we can handle if there are counterclaims or something like that comes up. But as far as that, I don't really follow that, Isabel, because we don't fall under that. We're not finders. Cam, can a Florida resident work other states? Guys, you can work wherever the heck you want to work. The only states we won't work with you on are Oregon, Washington State, and Colorado. We won't work those states. Florida is a separate program for us because, again, the statutes are so different and the way you go about getting the information is so different. But again, Oregon, Washington State, and Colorado, we will not work. So it's pretty easy. And I want to make an announcement. There's a bunch of questions here. I want to do this really quickly because we only have so much time. Some of you guys are getting lists that are estimate lists, okay, for mortgage overages in states where the attorneys are handling the mortgage foreclosure, and you don't actually have a list. You're coming up with this estimate of what it should be, or I should say, you're buying a list where they've done that, and they're doing it wrong. There's a lot to that. We have our Panning for Hidden Surplus Funds program. It's only available in our Diamond Bundle because it's our highest converting method that we've got out there. It's unbelievable. Launched that January of last year, and it makes up well over 50% of our business, probably over 60% of our business, just because it's so high. But really, you have to really know how to make a good estimate. There's a lot of VAs out there and these different companies that are selling lists that are absolute crap. Please be careful what you're doing. And if you're working our national system or our Premier 16 system, we need a list from a municipality, a sheriff's department, something like that, not an estimated list. The Panning, we teach you how to estimate on mortgage overages in about 18 states. So that's different. But be very careful if you're buying lists from disreputable or no-name people that are just coming up with these estimates based on garbage, because there's a lot of that out there right now. Please be careful. That's a big reason why a lot of people get out of the business. And I started in this earlier. You guys can download that file download. If you see that there, download it right now. You can also go to the products tab. If you guys are watching this on the replay on YouTube, you can go to the products tab, go to surplusfundsriches.net, click on products, and enter your information. You'll drop you on the products page. And there's an insider's guide there that you can also check out. Can we join? Oh, sorry. Can we join the program and you give us a list? Do we choose the state it comes from? We don't give you a list, Latasha. It's too easy to get lists. We teach you how to get them. Jeff, Daryl, read the foreclosure deed. It will usually state who foreclosed. That's a good point. Daryl says, thank you. Ben, sorry, I'm having trouble moving down here. Ben, National Surplus Funds. I've turned in some files without turning in page 4 of the title worksheet, but I turned in a file last night to kick back this morning because 4 is missing. It's not in the ebook example, and there's nothing new on the resources page about including it. Just include everything in there, Ben, if you've been told to do that. If you've been able to turn in a bunch of files and they missed that before, consider yourself lucky they didn't kick it back, right? David, I just purchased your national surplus. I noticed you have a list of all the accepted files. Have you guys considered a list of rejected files that can't work due to surprise debt, deceased, etc.? David, that list is complete. That's not just list of stuff that was accepted and everything's fine. That includes all the stuff that's crap too. Not the rejected. No, we don't put the rejected, because sometimes a file gets rejected that's been turned in because the researcher screwed up, forgot to put the conclusion page in there or whatever. That doesn't end up on the list. Okay. Someone else might come around later and put it in correctly. So we're not going to put that on the list so that people don't turn it, if you follow me. But that the list you're looking at includes stuff that we've got under contract that we've already pulled out. That list is solely there for your benefit, so you don't research a file that we already have and waste time. It's about transparency. Maria, by the way, I think what I figured out what's going on in Alaska. Should I run it by you through an email after the session? Go ahead. You can throw that out there, Maria. Alaska is boroughs instead of counties. And yeah, I think I have an idea on that, but sure, throw that on me. I appreciate it. Don Viana. How long does it usually take to complete a surplus deal for every party to get paid? Typically 3 to 4 months. And let me break that down because there's some outliers on that. There's some weird stuff going on in a couple of states. So it takes about a month of calls and mailings just to get them to return our call. They have to trust us. They have to see our name multiple times. They have to check out our website or whatever. And at that point, and to get them under contract with a mobile notary. Okay. At that point, it'll take a month for our attorney to either get documents reviewed by the county or in the states that require a motion to recover the funds, to get on the docket and get in front of whoever, the clerk or whoever's handling it. That'll take another month. And at that point, it can take a month or two for the county. This is standard. There's people it takes 3 months to find. There's people it takes 6, but pretty normal. 1 to 2 months for them to actually send the check out to us. So that's a total of 4 right there, 3 to 4. But we also have some states that take forever. And it's not even states, it's counties within states. Certain counties take longer to pay than others, a lot longer in some instances. The big check I mentioned, that took forever to get that check out. Donna, for the national program, is it okay if the ex-owner is incarcerated? Yes. What is the cost for the panning program and how much is a percentage to partner? On the panning, that's available only in the Diamond. We do that to limit the number of people working that so that everybody's got an opportunity to make a ton of money. That's in the Diamond only. That's expensive. That's $2,497. The percentage is 40% of net. Good whack. So a net would be after attorney, admin fees, that, mailing costs and that kind of thing. And of course, paying the claimant, right? Oh, and let me address something else. You said, is it okay if the owner is incarcerated? Absolutely. Typically, most people that are incarcerated have a power of attorney outside of the jail, and we can get a hold of them, and we can get a power of attorney from a power of attorney. We can do that. That's not an issue for us. If we have to get a hold of the person that's incarcerated, sometimes that throws more time involved, but as long as we can get a hold of them, there's typically a notary in the jail. However, it's a different animal. We have to usually send the documents in as hard copies, mail them in, the notary gets everything signed, and then they'll mail it back. And oftentimes they will not use a FedEx label. They refuse to do that. So they'll just mail it back normal mail. And of course, they'll bend it all up, and it's great fun. But if typically most people that are incarcerated have a family member or friend outside of jail that handles their stuff for them, that covers their power of attorney. Is it safe to speculate? I don't like that word, Elizabeth. How, if a loan provider is the buyer, it's best not to waste time on this type of case. I think you're meaning the bank took it back. And if that's the case, I would say that's a waste of time. That's now owned by the bank. Is there one central place to get recorded docs that you recommend? No. Lisa, very good question. Some of you guys are going to deeds.com or something like that, third-party sites. Don't ever do that, okay? Register of Deeds is online. It's also called Land Records Department, is online for every county. Well, I take that back. There's a couple outliers, some counties that you can't get that on, but it's 99% of them, okay? Use that. Don't use the deeds.com indirect crap, okay? And don't use, I'm going to check that by looking at realty track. No. You've got to go to the Registered Deeds Department for the county to check everything. So no, Lisa, you really need to go to the county site. Okay, some states, there's a couple of counties, example is Florida. There's a couple of counties where their Registered Deeds Department is kind of centralized with some other counties, but you'll find that still by searching for that county's Registered Deeds or Land Records Department. You do not want to use a third-party site. It is not accurate. It is not updated. That is not the way to go. Okay. Tom, I looked at the federal bankruptcy court website and it looks like they have changed the search options. Must have name of debtor now to search. I couldn't see how to general search for any to look for opportunities. Any ideas? Yeah, Tom, put in A, enter. I'm not kidding you. B, enter. I've done that before. Back, as particularly when we were doing state unclaimed funds, some of the states did the same thing. And if you just put the first letter in, it'll give you everything with that first letter. Not in every single case, but it's a great way to get started on a lot of these. Good question. Let's see where we're at here. Nish, I'm new to this. I wanted to know how much is the Premier 16 program? If I start that way, can I then also upgrade to Florida? Is Georgia a good state to start with? Okay. Premier 16 is bundled in. National surplus funds by itself is $597. That's bundled with the Premier 16 program for an extra $50, $647. So it's a no-brainer. It's called the Pro Pack. Okay, so get that if you want the Premier 16. Now keep in mind, the Premier 16 pays 16% of gross instead of 8. But not only do you have to get a list and not only research the debt, which you have to do for the national to get that 8% when we get it out of the court, right? Not only do you have to do that, but with the Premier 16, you also have to find them, call them, and make sure you have the right person and willing to speak to us, which means you're going to have to get skip tracing. You're going to have to mail them and call them. Just so you know, because some people go, I want to make a higher percentage. Yes, but you're going to higher cut, more work, right? You had more questions. If I start that way, can I then upgrade to Florida? No. The only way you'd upgrade is you'd buy where Florida. We don't break this stuff out, guys. If you want Florida and you want the Premier 16 and you want national surplus, get the gold bundle, $997. If you want to try to get Florida later, you're going to have to pay, at least get the best bundle just by itself. And that's $847. So for $997, you get that and Premier 16 and a bunch of other stuff, D-flips, Florida, all of it. So is Georgia a good state to start with? It's not bad. I don't have any issues with Georgia. By the way, guys, YouTube channel is Surplus Funds Riches, all one word, just like our website, surplusfundsriches.net. Surplus Funds Riches YouTube channel. If you go there, I did a state breakdown on there, just publicly. Patrick, can you give a brief overview of how training works after signing up? I'm leaning towards Surplus Pro Pack to start out with. Yes. So what you get is initial PDF, Patrick, and that is a step-by-step with screenshots. Jeff put most of that together. With screenshots, it is unbelievable how good it is. You really don't need anything else. However, it has a link in it that also goes to a resource page with additional video training, resources on how to submit files if you decide to, because they teach you. Those programs also teach you how to do it on your own. But it also gives you, of course, the submittal issues, or rather methods, and support is built in. That's email based through Jeff. You open a ticket online, that's covered in the ebook. And then, of course, we have these live webinars that are open to everybody. But Jeff tends to get back very, very quickly. Jeff reiterated what I said to Ben, include the entire worksheet. Cam, what percent of your ICs do 8% versus 16? Cam, I'd say a lot of people start with the 8%. This is why the Pro Pack is so powerful. They start the National Surplus Funds Program, which is an 8%er. Once they get their feet wet, realize they've got the research down, then they're like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can reach some of these people. And here's the way to game the system on me, guys. This is why people at least get the Pro Pack. Now, look, the smart buy is the most you can afford. That's not going to put you in a financial difficulty, because the diamond is stupid cheap. I mean, that works out to like $100 per program. That's the best deal we've got, but it's $2,497. The gold is a crazy good deal. Best of the best is crazy good deal. But the Pro Pack's fantastic too. And it's less expensive and it's not as good of a deal, but it's a great deal. So you get, anyway, you get an initial PDF, and then the PDF actually has a link to additional information, video training, and supports built in. And okay, to answer your question though, the 8 versus the 16, most people start with the 8, and then they'll try to also see if they can work it as a 16. The 16% program allows you to actually turn files in before you reach them, so you can kind of lock it down on the list so other people don't turn it in. But understand that if you do that, you can't turn around and go, oopsie, couldn't find them. I'd like to turn this in now as an 8%. No, you turn it as a 16, you got to find them, right? So what people do when they get both is once they start calling, they go, you know what, I'm going to make a really quick call, see if I can get the right phone number. And if I can, I'll and have a conversation real quick, I'll send it in as a Premier 16. If I can't, I'll send it in as an 8% and make it the results team's problem, right? That's what they're gonna do. Make it our issue. Greater Good Company is actually the company we use to buy out people. I'm sorry, I noticed I'm sending questions to admin only. No, Nish, it's okay. You're coming through. Virginia, do you do one-on-one coaching or help? We will. It's not necessary, and we charge you a ridiculous amount of money for that because it's not necessary, Virginia. It's not necessary. This business is not that hard. Once you figure out how to research that, not hard. Once you've done it a couple times, and you really don't need a walkthrough. And people want mentors and all that. Well, that's not how we're set up. We teach you how to do this, and we're designed to get you started and rolling and get you into money as quick as we can. You're good. It's just so many programs out there, says Virginia. I understand that. David, okay, thank you. Melissa, most cases I come across are already on our internal list. I still try to carve out my spot with National Surplus. That's cool. Melissa, just keep, if you look around, you'll find a lot out there. And by the way, guys, Melissa, I'm not taking a shot at you for this. Foreclosures are happening every day. All right. So, because some people say, oh, look, somebody's turned in somebody from this county. I better just avoid that. No, that might have been a year ago, right? There could be a new list in there. So don't think that everything's locked down. Donna says, thanks. And by the way, certainly also call counties if they don't have a list online. Most people aren't going to do that. Call, email, get in touch with them, figure out who actually handles the foreclosure. There's usually foreclosures listed. You know what department handles it. Get on, hey, I need the overages list or the surplus funds. It's in the ebook on how to ask for that. And you'd be surprised how many you get. And other people don't work that because they're just, I don't want to call the court, or I don't want to email them. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble. No, you're not. Is it worth trying to work a county that has already a lot of accepted files? That's funny. I just answered that. I guess the question is how often the surplus occurring. Yeah, guys, we're having for tax. There are counties in the United States that are literally having multiple tax deed foreclosures a month. I'm not kidding you. Obviously, with mortgage overages, it's every day. Okay. Oh, and Jeff put the link up. Yeah, a direct link to go where you don't have to even sign in because you guys have signed in already here to come to this, where you can click the link. And that's right up there in front of you right now to go to the products page and buy. And that's what I wanted to bring up earlier, and I missed it. And I'm sorry I didn't say it earlier. We're running out of time here, but this is very important that you get this. So we used to have sales like a day or two a month. We might go back to that, might not. But what we decided to do is instead of that, because that would limit the number of people coming in, we're just going to leave it on. And then when we hit the number we want to hit for the month, we're going to shut it down. That's just how we're going to work it. That's why there's a countdown clock on the products page. Because first of all, we have the right, and we are most certainly looking at raising prices this year, if not within the next month. But there's also a countdown clock. So the countdown clock is there so you guys understand we can raise the price tomorrow if we want. The other thing that's on there, the reason it's on there is just so you guys understand that we can pull it off completely and not sell any programs if we feel like we're at a point where we're happy with the number of people on board. And we have a lot of really good people. If you're out there, Pete, Freddie, there's a bunch of people out there, Yuri, that are just fantastic. Serena, there's a bunch of you guys out there that are consistent. Marisol, if I've missed you, I apologize, but there's a lot of you guys that are really fantastic. Carol, should copies of HOA utility liens that have been released be included on the file submitted for review to you? I know mortgages do need to be included. Thanks. If it was released because of the foreclosure, you still need to send it because it's released against the property, but it still counts against surplus. If it was released because it was paid off prior to the foreclosure, you don't. Good question, Carol. Cheryl, I have a national surplus funds case where there isn't a sheriff's deed foreclosure deed, but a re-recorded court entry, judgment entry to show the transfer of the real property at foreclosure. This is noted on the recorded court entry cover page. Is this court entry acceptable to turn instead of a sheriff's deed? Thanks, guys. I'm going to leave that to Jeff. I'm sure he'll answer that. If we don't get to that this evening, however, please use support in your ebook and he'll take care of that. Daryl, would you encourage working a tax lien state for surplus after a deed is transferred? Or is it more working? I'm not worried about whether or not it's a tax lien state or not. It's did they have a tax deed for, did they sell the property? Or is it more work in the search to make it worth my time, or stick with the tax deed states? You just, as long as it's had to have sold. A tax lien doesn't transfer property, so there's no overages created from a tax lien. Okay. If owner is deceased but heir is named in the deed, can the case be pursued? It should have been deeded to the heir, Melissa. That may be something to get up with support about. Rochelle, folks have any luck with tax lien program? Yes, that program is teaching people how to buy tax liens if you want more of a set return. And yeah, we've had people turn in stuff. I'm not turning stuff. We don't partner with that. But get up with me and let me know that they've been successful with that. Cam says mail in the what? I think that's in reference to the fact that we had to, if somebody's incarcerated, we had to send a hard copy into the jail for the notary to get signed, and then they would regular mail it back to us. That's the only thing I can think, Cam, that question was geared toward. Ben, okay, thanks. One more question. I remember you saying a few weeks ago you typically give a lawyer 10 business days to run the debt check and the other things on files that make it on board before conforming the surplus and officially putting it under contract. Okay. I had a file on the board during the update on May 10th, but I haven't gotten a confirmation that it's under contract. Is it safe to assume that it fell through? No, Ben, I'll be getting up with you. There's been delays on a couple of things. The attorney does the title work very, very quickly. But sometimes we have, particularly, I don't know if you're working panning, but with the panning, sometimes it does take an extra week or two just to get in the panning system, a mortgage, or rather trustee for the bank on a mortgage foreclosure is handling the money. And sometimes it takes extra time for them to do a final accounting and get that to us. So don't write that off, Ben. Carol, anything new about working files that have died and researching mortgage overages for panning, such as probate or trusts? We're working on that, Carol. That may be an announcement coming out soon. Currently, though, no. Nish says, thank you. Carol said, owner died. I got you. Elizabeth, you're right. Thanks, speculative here amongst us in the webinar. Not trying to give you a hard time, Elizabeth. As of late, your lists are fewer, which skip traces. Your lists are fewer. I don't know what you're talking about. Which skip traces best research for getting a hold of former owners? If you can get it, and a lot of people can't, because they're limiting people, especially people that are working with surplus funds, access. But if you can get it, maybe you have an attorney that you can allow, you can be a user for them, go through, find out what the correct way to do this is. TLO is probably the best thing out there. Accurant, there's a lot of LexisNexis that are great. They're also very picky about who they'll give access to. In general, IDI is very good for most people. Microbilt is very good. If you call Microbilt, talk to Gary Mosteller, and say Sean Bougie sent you, or Greater Good Company. That's who our bio company is, and that's who we skip trace through. And he'll give you a special deal. And Microbilt's very good also. And believe it or not, guys, White Pages Premium has been very good to us. Jeff, straighten me out. I am so sorry that I answered this incorrectly. This is why Jeff's here. We actually do partner with a tax lien program. It's very tight system, but we do. And that's right. Jeff just said it again. Randy Mosteller. Okay. It's not Stetler, which I've said before. Tell him, call Microbilt, microbilt.com. Tell him you're working with Sean Bougie or Greater Good Company, and he'll set you up on a special deal. And that's a great way to go. Microbilt's fantastic. They're really good at finding people, maybe not as good as IDI or Accurant and that type of thing. But what they're spectacular at is finding possible relatives and associates. And that comes in handy when the people just lost their property and they're living in mom and dad's basement. Okay. Guys, we're at the end of our time. I appreciate everybody coming. Again, use support as needed if you've already purchased the program. Again, we reserve the right to shut down programs for the sale of the programs or to up the cost whenever we want. That's another reason why we just left them on for now, because it gives us that option quickly. And programs are available right now for however long we feel like they're available. Surplusfundsriches.net. Click on the products page. Hope to see you guys on board.